Coming up, the women's basketball team lost to number 3 ranked Oregon on Monday night. We look at what went wrong for the Huskies in their historic defeat.
The men's team continues to show flashes, but their inability to close out games has UConn fans questioning what the team's future holds.
And we have Sebastian Gray Ortega in studio to give you the top 5 highlights from the past week in UConn sports. All that and more coming up next.
Welcome back to the first UC Sports of 2020. I'm Spencer Murray.
And I'm Julia Dowd. The women's basketball team faced their biggest test of the season Monday night with number 3 Oregon Ducks coming to Stores. This was a test the Huskies would ultimately fail as they were crushed by Oregon, losing by 18 points. This was the first time the Ducks beat the Huskies in 4 matchups. UConn was playing catch-up all night long. Ruthie Hebert had 22 points and 12 rebounds, and Sabrina Ionesco added 10 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists for the Ducks. UConn rallied behind hot three-point shooting to get within 12, but couldn't close the gap. Senior Crystal Dangerfield finished with 19 points, and Anna Makarat had 13. This was the worst loss at Gamble in the team's history. But it wasn't all negative for the Huskies. In the past week, the team defeated Cincinnati last Thursday in their normal dominating fashion, winning 80-50. Dangerfield led the team with 24 points, and Megan Walker added 21.
The men's team snapped a 4-game losing streak last week when they beat Temple 78-63 at Gamble Pavilion. Christian Vital dropped in a double-double to lead the way for UConn, but there were 6 Huskies total who tallied double-digit points on the score sheet. The win was important for team morale, but the Huskies reverted back to their losing ways the following game when they faced Memphis on the road, falling to 11-10 on the season despite another impressive 20-point outpour from Vital. Julia Gintoff was down in Memphis and has the report from the crushing defeat.
After snapping a 4-game losing streak on Wednesday, the UConn men's basketball team set to develop in their performance in a more trying contest here in Memphis, Tennessee. And despite a gritty effort, the Huskies would not top the Tigers in yet another suspenseful matchup. Tenacious defense led the Huskies in their initial push, with freshman Akuka Cook at the forefront of the effort. The protection at the rim translated to transition buckets to put the Huskies on top early. The Tigers would bite back quickly, however, picking it up in the first quarter of the game with an over 50% field goal percentage and forcing many fouls from the Huskies. Christian Vital would be the offensive difference maker, keying into the holes in the Memphis defense and finding open shots and drives. And while neither team could seem to keep the ball in their hands, UConn's gritty performance gave them the slight lead going into the locker room at the half. UConn would return on a hot streak with initial key plays from Vital and Booknight, but the game was far from over as the all-around athletic Tigers dominated the paint, mainly by part of former UConn prospect, Precious Achiuwa. And as the game continued to go back and forth with 14 lead changes throughout, the Huskies were able to keep it close with key contributions from the veteran players. It would ultimately come down to a game of free throws as fouls were drawn in seemingly every possession and, unfortunately, Memphis couldn't seem to miss. The Tigers would pull away in this one with a final score of 70-63, but head coach Dan Hurley has faith in the midst of many close losses.
Having them grow and develop together, it just takes time. I mean, it's frustrating, but it's going to bear a lot of fruit.
With that said, the Huskies still have time to improve as they are not even halfway through conference play, and will be seeing Memphis as well as many of the other teams they narrowly lost to in the future. Freshman James Booknight commented on these games to come.
Our past 7-8 games have all been within 2 to 5 points. But I feel we can win any game we play. We just know that the next time we see them, we got to win the game. We got just payback.
UConn has a bit of a break before traveling to Tulsa on Thursday in hopes of delivering some payback to the Golden Hurricanes in Oklahoma. From FedEx Forum in Memphis, Tennessee, I'm Julia Gintoff, UCTV Sports.
The Huskies have shown an inability to close out in late game situations throughout the year, something that will have to change when the team makes a switch to the Big East next season. UConn has covered the spread against every ranked team they have played this year, staying competitive, but failing to close out and win any of these games, with the exception of Florida, who they faced back in November. This season has given UConn fans a glimmer of hope for what the future holds, but it still feels like the roster is missing a couple of key pieces. Former UConn recruiting prospect and current Memphis forward Precious Achiuwa taunted the Huskies this past Saturday, dropping in 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals. The 6'9 freshman was among the top 25 players in the nation in high school and was a heavily recruited prospect by the Huskies, as well as several major Division I programs.
The men's and women's track and field team took first place overall in the New England Championship this weekend in Boston. The men would claim their 25th New England title for the program. The Huskies edged out competitors like Northeastern, UMass Amherst, and Rhode Island to take the top spot. The men claimed 4 individual New England titles and had 17 top 3 finishers. Wellington Ventura took home the gold in the men's 500 meters, setting a new personal record in the event. Sophomore Chanel Coleman took first in the 200 meters, and Mia Nahom and Danielle Jordan took first and second in the mile, respectively.
Men's hockey beat New Hampshire twice this weekend, both times by a score of 7-4. Sophomore sensation Johnny Evans recorded his second hat trick of the season in the first of these matchups. The team now stands at 11-12-4 in the year and is tied for 4th in the Hockey East standings with a conference record of 8-7-2.
UConn held their first spring football practice today, but not without controversy. Head coach Randy Edsall said he doesn't plan on recruiting players from the transfer portal because, quote, they think they're enabled and entitled. I'd rather go with high school kids or junior college guys. Guys going into the portal, they've got issues. That's why they're going into the portal. Some former Huskies decided to respond. Transfer Donovan Williams, who is now at Elon, tweeted, keep creating that narrative. It's all just a bad look. LOL.
And now, everyone's favorite segment, here's Sebastian Gray Ortega with the Husky High Five.
Thanks, Spencer and Julia. My name's Sebastian, and I'm your host for this week's Husky High Five. At number 5, we have guard Crystal Dangerfield, physically driving into the paint, taking the contact, and converting the and one for the Huskies. However, the Huskies fell to Oregon 74-56. Guards Christian Vitale and James Booknight come in at number 4. Gilbert is able to pick off the Owl player, driving up the court, and proceeding to chuck up a beauty at the top of the perimeter to Booknight, emphatically slamming it down. Number 3 sees forward Isaiah Whaley grab the board, putting it in the path of guard Christian Vitale, who drives into the lane and slams it down, silencing the Tiger faithful. At number 2, center Josh Carlton's lob is the catalyst for guard Alteri Gilbert's no-look lob to a Cook, who powerfully puts it down. Guards Jalen Gaffney and forward Isaiah Whaley's relentless pressure is the catalyst of this thunderous Booknight dunk, coming in at number 1. Now, back to Spencer and Julia.
In case any of you missed it, Super Bowl 54 took place last Sunday in Miami. UConn alum Anthony Sherman, who graduated in 2010, won his first Super Bowl ring as the Chiefs' fullback. He had the block on the Kansas City's game-stealing touchdown in the Chiefs' 31-20 victory.
Also in UConn alumni news, Shabazz Napier joined his 7th team in 6 years last night when he was traded to the Denver Nuggets.
That's all we have today for UCTV Sports. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at UCTV Sports and find us on YouTube at UCTV Channel 14. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.